Pledge. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, glory, forever. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we sit this evening, I ask you to join me in a moment of silence for Miss Beverly Thompson. Miss Beverly Thompson started work for Hendry County Schools while actually she was still in high school, where she remained employed for 37 years. She worked in the office of the superintendent in the capacity of the executive superintendent's secretary up until the time she retired in 2021. Ms. Thompson was a devoted mother, wife, and employee of Hendry County Schools, and she'll be sorely missed. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Superintendent, we have a couple of presentations this evening.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sanchez will go ahead and start making his way up. And while he's doing that, I'll just kind of lay the groundwork. We try to keep the board updated on where we are with different data sets. Mr. Sanchez tracks the data with regard to the secondary data specifically. Ms. Duncan will talk to us in regards, I believe, some elementary data and kind of keep us informed of where we are there. The second presentation they'll go straight into, or Mr. Sanchez will go straight into, is with Florida Southwestern State College, FSW, and the credit and degree attainment from where we are and where we stand with that for this current school year and where we ended up. So with no further ado, Mr. Sanchez and Ms. Duncan.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, we're just going to go over some of the discipline data that we have, and you'll see on here previous year as well as this year's office referrals. I do want to indicate that included in this office referral data are our bus referrals as well. So looking at our data, you can see we had a lot of positive trends and data going down. The number of disciplinary referrals decreased. We did have a couple outlying schools with some increase in their discipline numbers. Various factors play into that, right? Years, teachers, how many new teachers they have, what classroom management strategies they have, what are the pre-existing circumstances of individual students, what students are of high discipline needs and have more than one referral in which we're providing interventions and so forth. So we feel confident that we are continuing to grow in our learning strategies for classroom management and implementation of positive behavioral supports within our schools to continue growing our data on a positive trend.
Similar trends in secondary. You see that 3 out of 4 secondary schools reduced the number of office referrals from 23 to 24. We've done a lot to wrap around support for students in terms of behavior and discipline, whether it's our transition rooms, whether it's our MTSS process for behavior, whether it's our PBIS systems, right? Whether it's having those class meetings and reinforcing verbally those expectations and the standard at each school quarterly, on a quarterly basis. In terms of the drugs and the fights, we did include that data at the bottom there because that's been one of our laser focal points the last couple of years is reducing the violence that occurs on campus and reducing the amount of drugs that are present there. And you can see that we have had pretty positive results in terms of when you look at the fights. One that really stands out as a like data point of a lot of pride is Lewiston Middle School. They reduced the fights significantly there. And I think that had a lot to do with last January, remember we had a pretty large school-wide altercation there, and there were consequences. Those consequences were fair, appropriate, and commensurate to the disciplinary violation. And I think when you hold people accountable to a standard, that sends a real positive message to everyone in terms of what's acceptable and what's not. We did see a slight increase in the number of fights at Lewiston High School, And we had a pretty large incident back in December there that involved 9 students. And so you minus that one incident out, the data doesn't look as inflated as, but it's all it takes. All it takes is one incident to really drive up the numbers, all right? When it comes to vapes, as you can see, we've made some growth in some areas where we've decreased the number of vape offenses, but then in others we've had some slight increase, so that's something that we've got to continuously work on. We're anticipating having the vape detectors go live in some of our bathrooms in secondary schools this fall, so I think that'll be a huge deterrent. And we just got to continue to harp on the dangers of vape and educating and communicating the real negatives that come with drug use and engaging with vapes. All right.
Is that primarily what you're seeing, the drug, when you say drugs, is primarily in the vaping?
Oh, yeah, it's vapes.
99%.
99% is in the vape.
It's an epidemic. It's an epidemic that we can, the accessibility. I mean,
It's a cool thing, like smoking a cigarette was in the 70s and tobacco in school was, when we were in school. It's the vape thing too.
Well, it's probably fairly easy to conceal, because some of them are kind of small, aren't they, those vape things?
Yes, it's very much so. Hard to detect and stuff like that.
yeah, we have monthly detection checkpoints that we set up. We have some metal detectors that we utilize that will pick up some of the metallic pieces of those vapes. And so, we do a lot to try to deter the vape use, but still, it's an ongoing struggle that we face.
Mr. Chip?
Can children buy them from the store?
Sure that-
They're not supposed to be able to, but they're able to.
Oh, okay.
And older
So it's
siblings or
illegal to buy.
parents. and-
Correct, yeah. Older siblings buying for them, older
So
relatives.
the older siblings
Older relatives.
purchase it more.
Or parents.
Or
Or
on the street, I mean, there's a black market for it, like on the street, you can, sure.
And
Also
the
order them through mail.
things they put in, whatever the juice or whatever it is, oil, whatever, that makes them high.
Mhm.
It's the THC they have.
Yeah.
And they sell it out of the store.
And what's really dangerous about that is the levels of THC in those vapes is astronomically higher than marijuana was 15, 20 years ago. I mean, you're talking about THC contents of 36, 40% or higher. And so, I mean,
There's a ballot initiative to make it recreational. Because now you can get a license and go to a dispensary and buy it, and that's probably where these kids are getting their hands on it, with somebody from a license. And now there's a ballot initiative that's going to go, I believe, in the general election to have marijuana be recreational and like take away any kind of penalties. It'll probably like be regulated like tobacco or beer, like you're not supposed to have it 21 and under, but that'll prevent people from even having to have a prescription if that passes.
I will say that I would love to take this opportunity to say that if you pay attention or if you listen, watch other school districts, and where everything from the discipline data, the fights, and the drugs are rampant, out of control, the fact that we are either holding steady or losing in the discipline there, data, I think that's phenomenal. This speaks volumes to the works at our schools, our teams, our principals, the awareness. Ms. Hood with the health department, she comes regularly, she brings posters. Every time we do our class meetings, we talk about it, we talk about the dangers of it, we give them examples, we talk about the consequences, and I think that all that works and helps. So I know it's still there, we hate that it's still there. I think if you compare us to any other school like kind size, we are doing way better on this war than a lot of them are. And so I don't want to negate that. And I want to give all the credit to the folks that are in the schools, boots on the ground. They're doing a great job. And so it's sheer hard work that's making it happen. And the same thing with the fights. We're trying to be more proactive, more academic driven. You do the management practices that keep the kids from having the opportunity to be confrontational, be more MTSS driven when we talk about behaviors, and it works. And so as you can see again, all those things come into fruition. This is where they manifest. We used 4+ years ago, we would harp on the discipline data, and how are we going to fight this and how do we attack this? Well, we've kind of shifted out of that. And now we're talking more about the academics and just kind of allow, that to drive us. And this is obviously taking care of itself, but it's falling into place as we planned. So again, it's not where we want to be. We would love for them all to be zeros, but they're not going to be. There's been fights on playgrounds and schoolyards since there's been schools. And, you know, the things like vapes today, God knows when it'll be next year and the year after, they've manifested themselves in schools ever since there's been schools. And so we will continue to be vigilant, stay in front of the curve, stay, you know, keeping our kids safe and doing the things that we can to do that. So,
I feel that there is a definite need for discipline within our young society because it might not be as old as I am, but I know the day you get out there and you fight and you okay, buddy, you got, you know, we go shake hands and go. Today is aggression. They're trying to really kill one another.
that's right.
So we got to, I can appreciate the step we made to enforce discipline within our school. It wouldn't be where it is now.
Yes, sir.
We had to make that decision.
Yes, sir.
We are getting vape detectors, though, you said, in our schools.
Mr. Clays is helping us.
Yes,
Working on
it received a grant, and so there's a vape detector that's going to be in the restrooms, in the secondary schools. And it detects the vape, and some of them go as far as to detect words, key words like fight and things like that. And so it will signal, because we can't afford to staff every restroom all day long to watch for those things. And so what it'll do, it'll be tied to the camera system. We can't put a camera in there, we'll put a camera on the entrance going in. And then, yeah, so that way you can narrow it down. And then the admin can get an alert and get there faster and stuff like that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
when you consider that kids are in school for 180 days,
All right.
and then you look at how many students you have, and then the opportunities to either get into a fight or be caught with a vape on campus, these aren't, you know, when you put them side by side, you're like, okay, I kind of see a trend upward, but when you really put it into perspective of how many students you have on a campus, how many days they are, and then this is what you come up with, it's, while not perfect, it is still not as alarming as one would may hear or may think when it's put into that context. So there is not a whole lot of complaint. I want to acknowledge LaBelle High School and Clifton Middle School for just an astronomical reduction in office referrals. And so apparently they've got something good going on there that could be emulated. They've got some kind of secret sauce. So definitely worth delving down into that and see what their best practices are, and hopefully implementing that and maybe train the trainer there, so that they're implementing different models for campuses.
Good, and we go right into the enrollment data as well. And so for the dual enrollment data, we just wanted to do an update on that. We had a total of almost 1,600 courses taken, 1,577. And as you can see, the vast majority of those courses taken ended up with either an A, a grade of an A, or a grade of a B. You know, we still, you know, would like that to be 100%, right? And in that ideal world, 100% of the course taken would be A's and B's. But we do have, you know, some students that struggle from time to time with individual scenarios. But Ms. Walker and Ms. Yosis, who are administrators, Ms. Walker at LaBelle High School and Ms. Yosis at Clifton High School, do a phenomenal job of staying in touch with those students that are struggling, meeting with those parents, having those meetings, right? And being helicopter administrators that they need to be with those students in terms of trying to intervene and trying to do what they can to create an action plan in terms of how to get these grades up. So overall positive data there, but we're going to continue to strive to improve that data.
What are the guardrails? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
What are the guardrails in place? Because we got like 7.55%, and when you're looking at nearly 1,600 credits that were available, I mean 119, it's not, like I said, perfect, but it's not absolutely atrocious. Like, what kind of guardrails are in place? Are there times for evaluation where you can look at these kids and be like, you need to pull that class? Because what resonates with me is if you end up with these D's and F's, not only, and you don't pass the class, you end up having to take that class over, and it goes with that kid on their child college transcript.
Yeah.
And so like being able to either rectify it or put that guardrail up and pull that kid out of that class before they have that hanging over their head going, when they leave post-secondary.
And we have had some instances where we've had to pull students from that because of life circumstances. You know, what was best for that individual student at that time was not to continue in the dual enrollment program and taking these college courses, right? But a lot of the guardrails revolve around having those meetings, looking at the data on a monthly basis, meeting with them every 3 weeks to make sure that we have those touch points throughout the semester and we can intervene and we can get parents involved when those grades go down. And then requiring kids to come in on Fridays to get those grades and that coursework done.
How long do they have, like, for a semester, like, how deep can they get into a semester before it's too late for them to?
Like the drop-out period?
Yeah, the drop-out.
I can't give you a specific answer on that. I believe it's 4 weeks, but I'll get back.
That's an FSW, not a.
Yeah, it's an FSW.
Okay.
There's a drop-out period.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Now, it's my understanding, and I love this program, so I go to Ms. Walker and I go to Ms. Gossis and I talk to them, and one of their concerns is, well, how come we don't catch this earlier? Because the students have a right to privacy, and they cannot go in and look at their grades. They can't just put them online like in high school. Anybody can pull up the grade that has access, the teachers, the principal, the guidance counselors. But if they're in college, they do not have, those people, Ms. Joseph and Walker, do not have access so they can see when a child is failing. Now, they can pull them in and they can talk to them and ask them, but the kid doesn't. I'm doing fine, thank you very much. And that's where the conversation could end. Because we don't, and I don't know what to do about that. I mean, if we had access, would those numbers go up? Absolutely, they would be increased because we could catch them early. As soon as they get a D on a test or something like that, we could, hey, how about this? But we cannot do that. And Ms. Joseph and Ms. Walker, I know they struggle with it.
And I would like to add that I would just use the adjective grapple. I've grappled recently with FSW over a couple of issues, and this is one of them. And they provided me the data that showed that the Hendry students still have the highest % graduation of any of the schools that they service, and that's Collier, Charlotte, and Lee. And so even with our lack of being able to be an intrusive counselor, that's what we would like to be.
That's right.
But then we can't. But they said
we're paying for it.
and it's in like a low. It's about 93 or 94%, and like the next district to us was in the high 80s. And they said, so you're still, the Hendry kids still are kind of setting the bar.
I think
So,
our
yeah,
teachers there do a wonderful
Yeah.
job, and they do everything they
That's right.
possibly can, and I think it's a super.
It really is a life-altering program.
Well, it is. They would not have access to it if we didn't have those programs.
There are students who would never step a foot in college if it wasn't for this program in Coastal Colorado. No doubt.
So, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, so I'm going to tell on myself here. When I went off to college, my parents made me go write a letter, fill out something where they could verify my information with the school. And is that something that, I don't know, like legally, we could require our students to do? That to sign permission for our administrators to be able to look at their grades as a condition of them participating in this program, since our taxpayers aren't paying for this?
I'm certainly happy to ask the question, but every time that I've asked and we've tried to gain this access, they just keep citing FERPA and saying they're a student of ours and they have FERPA rights just like anyone else.
But if it is a part of the condition, if you want to be a part of this program, you have to give us access so we can help you. And this is not you going to FSW on your dime, you're going on taxpayer dime, and you're using our facilities and our Chromebooks to do this.
I agree. And we're
We want
paying
to
for it,
help.
right? That's a
Yeah,
good
we're
point.
paying for,
That's
like,
good.
basically what my parents told me, we're paying for it, we're going to verify it. So, and I just would be interested in the legality of having that as a condition of participating in the program.
I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Sanchez? No?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. Moving on to citizen comment. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any citizen comment this evening? No citizen comment. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does any board member have anything they would like to move from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to remove consent agenda item L, the comprehensive evidence-based reading plan, to an action item.
L to action item C.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to discuss one of the items. I don't mean to move it to an action item, but I'd like some clarification on that, if that's possible.
On which one, sir?
Oh, the mental health application.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. What's interesting, we just went over the discipline data and how we're improving and moving along. And mental health is an issue that I've worked with for a long time. And a lot of our discipline could be tied to emotional issues, anger, anxiety, isolation, bullying. There's a whole bunch of them. So then I saw this MHAA, and they were talking about how they're going to provide these services at MTSS levels and so forth. And I noticed that it's going to cost us almost $1 million for this program. Is that paid for by grants? Well, that's one of my questions. Is that paid for by grants? Is that coming out of our general budget? Then I have some other questions.
This is the allocation plan. It is a grant from the state for mental health. It's funding we receive from them. And then we are to outline what we use those funds for. And so this budget shows where that money will be allocated. It's the same allocation plan that we've had for the last 2 years. It was how we were able to hire those 5 mental health providers before,
Right.
So we're maintaining that. And it also, the state mandated mental health criteria that we have to have all students receive the curriculum for mental health, that's covered under this as well. But that's where we're providing that through this grant.
Because it was a long read just going through that. I mean, so I just picked out some things like their recommendation on ratios for guidance counselors and so forth was 1 to 326. Well, obviously, we're not anywhere near that. We're triple that.
Yeah,
in some
and that's
cases.
nationally, that's recognized nationally.
But they were also talking about skill streaming programs and stuff like that. Who initiates that? Is that part of the mental health group? Is that part of a classroom teacher? Who was doing this?
A variety of things. And so this grant asked me to identify what we're doing in our school district, what evidence-based practices we're using to address the social emotional development needs of the students. And so one is Tier 1, it goes across everything, and that's Suite 360 mental health, and there's also behavioral interventions within that would meet Tier 2, so small group or small classroom or like our transition classrooms. It also addresses Tier 3, which would be more individual. Then it also, like the skill streaming, that's done in smaller groups through our school counselors, through our transition classrooms. We also have Tier 3 interventions, so the more therapeutic one is going to be taken care of at that Tier 3 with our mental health providers, and so they do more therapy, like EMDR and CBT and all.
No, I think, well, that is great. But I also noticed that there's pre and post testing.
Yes, so
What are we using as pre and post testing?
So part of Tier 1 for MTSS for social emotional is a screener, a universal screener, and that is done through Suite 360. We actually talked about that today at our training with admin. All students receive an opening, like a screener. It's open for a week, and we make sure all students go through that. It assesses their emotional maturity, right, within those areas, and it determines, like, what are the deficit areas, where are students lower? Do we have self-esteem concerns? Do we have relationship issues? Do we need leadership skills? And then it places the student and gives the report to the staff so they can identify the group of students in their class, where are they struggling, so they can offer more support.
Well, that sounds great. Well, thank you. So it can be used, and I was looking at that for the skill streaming, it can also be used for Tier 3.
Yes, and so the skill streaming is a curriculum, it's a workbook type lesson plan, and we generally that in small group and or individual with students. We try to do it in groups, but it's a skill set that you're practicing with lesson plans and role plays.
So is that with the guidance counselor, or would that be with
It's
the?
a variety of people, behavior team, mental health team, our resource counselors, school counselors, a variety of different individuals provide that. We've trained teachers in our varying exceptionality classrooms to run those programs. That's our self-contained classrooms. We've trained a variety of people. If there's a need, we go in and train on that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. We have no one else wants to move anything. Mr. Superintendent, do we have a recommendation on the consent agenda?
I recommend your favorable consideration approval of the consent agenda as presented by Ms. L.
Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Houston, seconded by Mrs. Nelson. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will move on to action items. Mr. Superintendent, action item A, permission to advertise a tentative budget hearing. We have a recommendation.
Yes, sir. This is our standard protocol that we have to do for the advertisement. So I recommend your approval of action item 5A, permission to advertise a tentative budget hearing.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Ms. Houston, seconded by Reverend Brown. Do we have any discussion? No dis-
When is this meeting? Date time?
We have a schedule of those, and we'll get you the complete
Okay.
schedule, because there's a couple of them.
The tentative budget hearing is July 30th.
I wanna say it's a
That
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
Last Monday.
Last Monday,
29th.
July, yeah, 29th.
July 29th.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'm
Yes.
just going to throw out there, I'm having surgery this week. I should be able to attend, but if not, is that something I can call in for?
It'll be fun. As long as I got a majority.
As long as we got three. As long as we got three, we're okay.
So nobody else gets sick?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, action item 5B. Mr. Superintendent, do we have a recommendation on a director reappointment position?
I'm not sure. This was kind of sketchy.
You deserve all the shade. You were handing it out last time.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I recommend your favorable consideration and approval of action item 5B, director reappointment of Mr. Anthony Bugent.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Sammerdyke, seconded by Mrs. Nelson. Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I just have filed my Form 8B on this, and just want the general public to know I'll be abstaining from this vote because Mr. Buston is fortunate enough to be married to me and is a first-degree relative. It would be inappropriate for me to vote on this item. He is very fortunate. He threw a lot of shade last meeting, but we all know he's the fortunate one, so.
All right. I didn't know he could turn those different colors like that.
I've been planning this for weeks.
Do we have any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to action item C, which was L, which is kind of a comprehensive evidence-based reading plan. Mr. Superintendent, do we have a recommendation for that?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I recommend your approval of action item 5C, which is a comprehensive evidence-based reading plan as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Nelson, seconded by Mr. Sammerdyke. Do we have any discussion?
I do, Mr. Chair. So, I went and compared this year's plan to last year's plan. And I like I said, every meeting, I like data points. Narratives do nothing for me. And when comparing these points of data that were provided for us, I'm seeing an overwhelming trend in us not meeting the goals that we're setting for ourselves. We're like falling short on this.
And I look back at my voting history on the last one, and I didn't support it. And when I go back and I look at this one, our current plan, it looks like there's been a lot of copy and pasting, like the same plan. And when I look at the results from the previous year, and they're not satisfactory by my personal evaluation, and then it's kind of like, I always say, beating the dead horse. Like, I don't see a tremendous amount of change in that plan, and so it's going to be hard for me, considering the outcomes and the data that was provided, to support doing what we've done on that plan. Because we just didn't get the outcomes that we were looking for, as far as I was concerned with the last one. So I just wanted to clarify my decision-making process on my vote.
And I want to clarify one thing too, by the way. We do not have the final data from the state yet. And so although we have raw data is available online. If anybody wants to look at that, it is incorrect, it's incomprehensive of where we are with Hendry so far. So even with the incorrect raw data that we have, it still shows great growth in our reading across the spectrum in Hendry County. Once we get the final data that has the learning gains built into it and then some other stuff filtered out of it that the DOE is working on for us, we expect we're going to have very strong growth reading plans in there.
So this data that's in our reading plan is inaccurate?
It's like that.
It's lag.
Yeah.
It's always a year behind.
Right. And so the current data, what we're going to have is the current data, and when you see that, you're going to see remarkable growth in reading across the spectrum, specifically in third grade, 3 through 5, and all those levels. So we're very proud of it. It's going to be it's what we have all been wanting and looking for several years, and so we're very excited to share it with you. We can't share it with you. We could share it with you, but it's inaccurate and incomplete now, and it wouldn't serve the purpose that we need to serve. We need to have the accurate, complete context of the data. We expect to have that hopefully by the first meeting in August. We're waiting on DOE at this point to finalize that.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to turn on the DOE. Why are they publicly? Listen, I'm willing to have the conversation with the commissioner, but why are you publicly putting data out? You're dropping this data, you're putting it in the news. This is how our schools are performing if it's inaccurate.
Yeah, it is incomplete and incomprehensive at this time. What they have is the raw data where students scored and where we scored in schools. What they do not have is stuff like the learning gains. There's no learning gains figured in there at all. And so for us to use that to be able to determine where we are as a school, where we truly scored, where our grades truly are, we can't do that at this point in time. The second piece of that, so you'll know, is we've been working with the Department of Education for 2 years to stop grading DAOF into our data. They continue to grade, and we have commitment from them. We had verbal commitment, we had email commitment, we had people in their face of the Department of Education said, no problem, we'll make that happen. They've graded DOF into our data again. And so once those two things happen, when learning gains are figured in and when they segregate DAOF out of it, you're going to see a huge, growth, and it's going to be remarkable, like we've never seen in recent years with regard to reading in Hendry County.
So when I looked at the data that was provided, because that's what I can go on, what's on the 4 corners of this
Right.
page. And so what I did was I didn't compare last year's first grade with this year's first grade. I did last year's first grade with this year's second grade, and did that to get a grasp of. I'm just trying to look at the trend. Is it accomplishing what we're doing, what we're striving to do, and so if we got the DOE handing out shady data, then that's problematic.
I don't know that. I mean, and perhaps they were clear when they said, look, here's the data. It's not complete. It's incomplete. We still have learning data. You know what I mean? And so I'm not telling you that it's false or a lie. I'm just telling you it's not all there. Number one. The second piece of that is the DOF piece. So, when those two together, are done. And
Well, that's, you've heard me melt down about DAOF being intertwined with just dragging our data, and been fired up about it since day one.
yeah,
So.
and we've been working diligently trying to get it done. We believe we're there. They had a commitment to get it done, and they got by some of the layers, but they are working on it as we speak. I'm being told that it's happening in Tallahassee. So hopefully, cross our fingers, and we hope that you know, within the next formal board meeting, we're able to roll that out. That's our greatest hope.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Superintendent, I mean, with what Mr. Houston is saying, could we push this until the actual data?
It really doesn't,
Is it gonna make any difference?
I don't believe so. I mean, I think that it's going to be better than where you are, not worse, you know what I mean? And so I don't know that there's a deadline. I don't know if there's a date that Ms. Duncan, this has to be due, is this due a certain date that you have to have this submitted?
Reading plan? Yes, it's due August 1st.
Yeah, so that's, so for that, you know.
If I may clarify, the reading plan is something we do every year. It has a format laid out by the state. It is not supposed to be, if you read on the trees and things like that are every year moved the processes. We did add some changes as to like the common lit was added this year, some changes in the things that we were using for some of those resources. But the plan in itself is continuous every year. It does not fully change every year because it does take longer to commit, and some of those processes and procedures are long-term processes and procedures.
I mean, I've saw like in some of the grades in like secondary, it's not even indicating that we're using the fast progress monitoring from progress 1 to progress 3. There's like things missing in it. So, I mean, I didn't vote for the last one, and I'm just letting folks know why I'm not going to support this one. And now there's, you know, accusations of shady data. So.
Yeah, and the state is not, it's supposed to be this data the way it is in this way. That is how it's supposed to be put in this way.
Okay.
Maybe until you get all that information, keep track with Ms. Duncan and the superintendent and get more accurate information up to date. And
I mean, I want accurate information.
yeah, well, yeah.
They're putting it
absolutely.
on, you know, there's a sense of trust with the DOE, so
Keep up
It's
with
not-
behind the scenes and.
if it's not spot on, then that's problematic.
Yeah. All right. Any other discussion? No other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1 with Ms. Busey being a nay vote. All right. Move on to, we have no old business. I see no attorney updates unless Ms. Madison has anything she'd like to inform us of.
Yes, I actually do. If everybody can hear me okay?
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I will be present in person at the August 20th meeting. I think the next meeting is August 6th. I'll be remote at that one. And then the following, I will be in person. While I've been on leave, Ms. Collins has sent me contracts as usual to review, which have been on the agenda as the months have been coming and going. 2 of those contracts have been involving proposed agreements, which means the architect and the contractor for the new build for the Bell High School. Those are still ongoing. I think Mr. Swindle is reviewing our proposed revisions, and we'll have discussions about that, but I just wanted to keep the board informed of it. And another thing that I wanted to bring to the board's attention is I prepared a brief legal memorandum regarding the affordable housing for teachers issue that we've discussed a few meetings, and our legal ability to embark on that journey if the board so chooses to proceed with that. But those are just a couple of things that I wanted to bring to the board's attention of what's been ongoing while I've been on leave.
All right, thank you very much.
Ms. Tanner, when will we see the memorandum?
I can circulate it to you via email tonight if you want to see it.
That'd be fantastic, thank you.
So memorandum for what? What? I'm sorry.
The memorandum she was just discussing about affordable housing,
Oh,
legal
yeah.
brief.
She was rendering a decision on something I had asked her for. That's what that was.
Yeah, it's very brief. It just touches on whether we're legally able to go down that avenue. The quick answer is yes, but it cites statutory authority. If you're interested in seeing it, I can send it via email.
Thank you.
And that's it. If anyone has any questions of me, let me know. I'm still available via email mostly, or you can try to call me, but email is probably the best way to get in touch.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Tanner. All right, we'll move on to board member business. Superintendent, we have item 8A, Florida School Board Association, Advisory Committee, Representative and Alternate Appointment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is for the Florida School Board Association Committee leadership terms from July 1 to June 30th. This is a time of the year when we typically appoint someone from our board to be that representative. I believe last year, off the top of my head, it was Mr. Sammerdyke, and the alternate was it Reverend Brown? Okay, so that's who your current ones were, or that's who they were last year. So it's to the discretion of the board who y'all wish to nominate and appoint for that representative and an alternate at this point.
I will.
Second.
Gladly nominate.
Take the vote.
Are you okay
Would
with
you
that?
be
Well,
willing to
thank
do
you for
that?
your support.
You've done such a fine job, Mr. Samberg. Would you do it again?
I appreciate your endorsement. Thank
Do you accept the nomination?
you. Yes.
Do we need to vote on each one of those separately?
No, you can do it.
Reverend Brown, do you accept the nomination to be the backup for Mr. Samberg?
Gladly, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, so we will put those to a vote then. All in favor of Mr. Samberg and Mr. Brown continuing on, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll move on to board member business, item B. Florida School Board Association invoice. Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir. This is the dues that you pay for the Florida School Board Association as a board. So I recommend your favorable consideration for action item 8B, Florida School Board Association invoice 12977, annual FSBA dues 2024-25.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Busen, seconded by Reverend Brown. Do we have any school board member that does not want to participate as a member? We can exclude you, so it just has to be changed off the bill. Is that correct? You can. Yeah, just want to make sure everybody's okay. Everybody good with that?
All the best.
All right, very good. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so that is all we have there. So, Mr. Superintendent, do you have any business you would like to bring to us?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple of items that I would like to discuss with you. Number one, a couple of just pieces of FYI. In the, I believe, early June board meeting, you gave us the latitude to purchase a building in LaBelle on behalf of LaBelle Adult School. The building has been purchased. We have taken possession of the building. We have already begun renovations in the building. Ms. Goff has already hired an HVAC, plumbing, and a welding instructor. So in one fell swoop, she doubled the size of workforce training in Hendry County, and we're offering a very stable program in LaBelle to the residents there. So we're very proud of that. The Clewiston Early Learning Center, which is the old YDA next door, Mr. Busen, his maintenance staff, and a good wad of contractors that have just done an absolute phenomenal job there. When you walk in, if you look in the classrooms, you would think you're in a new construction. It's just, they have really rehabbed it and done a great job to give it probably another 30, 40, 50 years worth of life in that facility there. So making use of what we have, we're obviously known for, and we'll have no issue opening that facility up first day of school. Those pre-K students will have a great place to be. I think the only thing that may not totally be in place will be the kitchen, but we have 5 other kitchens within a rock's distance away that create food for our students every day. They will eat, they'll have the breakfast, snacks, and lunch just as good as the other schools do until the kitchen gets up and come online. The expansion just took a little bit longer, and we wound up having to add a kitchen, and so we had to do an add-on change order for that. But if you get a chance to stop by, please stop by, please check that out. We would love to have you.
Mr. Schwab, can I ask a question on the LaBelle workforce? What was the final contract price on that?
$1,050,000. So we were able to get it for a little bit, a click cheaper than what we had agreed upon. Yep.
And the hazmat situation
situation over there, did that have any impact on that property?
It was catty corner, so the corner of our property was the corner of the other property across the street, but no, we didn't have any impacts.
Did they determine what that was?
I heard no official determination, no.
Okay.
Only speculation. Anything else?
Well, you know,
Okay.
I walked through the VPK, IPK classrooms, I was there again this morning, or this afternoon. Some of the classrooms, just large and pretty, nice sized classrooms. You know, it's kind of, everyone has a little bathroom and a little commode or something. I mean, it's kind of cute, I mean, you know, I guess they're only 3 and 4 years old, but it really, the outside of the building looks great. The inside, the air conditioners were the ones I were, the air conditioners running, the floors are clean. I mean, a lot of teachers have already moved in their equipment, trying to organize their rooms and stuff like that. So it's moving along and it looks really nice.
It is.
I just wanted to share.
I give total respect and kudos to Mr. Busen. That's all in his team, his efforts, his organization, and they've just done a great job. Thank you for that. I do want to discuss, I want to bring one thing back to the table. At the last meeting also, we discussed property at Clewiston Middle School where the bus is sitting. We had interest from an organization that would be interested in purchasing some of that. You gave me the thumbs up to engage that company and work with them on coming up with some type of contract. We did put together an RFP for that. Through the RFP, however it happened, I'll own it. We're not sure how, but I'll own it since it's my job. That was not a specific piece of property the company was interested in. The specific one they're interested in is between Clewiston Middle School and US 27 on the east side, which would be up against, what is that road there? East Circle Drive, which is up against Circle Drive, approximately 1 acre. That was where their business model and where they would like to purchase. It is used right now for retention of water. Mr. Busen has consulted 2 different engineers, and the engineers have said that the retention will not be an issue, that there is adequate retention without that piece there. So I didn't want to take advantage of the opportunity that you had extended to me. I wanted to come back to you as a board to ask the question, would that be a piece that y'all would be interested in hearing proposals on as well? I didn't want to just assume, since you were willing for one, you were willing for the other. So I'm back before you asking, would that be one that if we got proposals on, you would be interested in entertaining selling? If the answer is yes, we're happy to redo the RFP and send that out. If the answer is a resounding no, then we can stop there. It's totally up to this board at this time.
So would it be that whole piece?
It's only 1 acre, so it's about 25% of
Half of it?
Roughly 25% off the top of my head.
Because it's a pretty area. I mean.
Yeah, right.
It would be right in front of the school, right?
It would be, if you were looking at Clewiston Middle School now, it would be over to the right-hand side. So it wouldn't block the front view of the school. It would be on that, I believe it's Circle Drive where the red light is.
Right.
And at that corner there.
What gets me to echo what I said last time would be the ingress and egress for traffic for our students, and it really depends on what kind of business this is and what it's going to be literally bringing into the front yard of that school. I mean, just right there on top of it.
Yeah, it's a nationwide fast food restaurant chain.
Well, there's your traffic. So as long as we're on that particular piece of property, we were thinking about how can our community know all the great things that are going on at our schools? What's going on at the high school? We don't know. We don't even have we don't have a newspaper as we used to. LaBelle has the same issues. People don't know. I'd like to see on that piece of property a great big video marquee that changes about every 15 seconds, and it's huge, and it's a video, and it can tell you things that are going on at Clewiston Middle School, Clewiston High School. Here's the football team. Here's our honor guard. Here's this going on here, and everybody in our community would have to drive right by it and everybody in our community in Lewiston could see the things, the great things that are going on in our schools. And right now, we have no communication with our general public. And I think something like that, and we could change it, rotate. I mean, different districts have videos, not quite as elaborate, but what a great thing I think would be for our community to have something when you drive by. Oh yeah, that's going on. There's a
Would
football
that be
game.
for every, would that be for every school, or just Clewiston Middle School?
I think what would make the Clewiston schools in Clewiston, I'd like to see one in LaBelle at a certain spot. But it ties the community to the school, and that's what we don't have.
You're thinking just on, because it's on the highway.
Yeah, it's right there. Anybody going to the Burger King or anywhere else sees this
Right.
thing.
The
It's
county
big.
has put these signs in, 'cause I know we have one in Felton now at the community center, and it tells events that are happening in Felton, so.
But I'm on board than just a printed narrative. I'd
Well,
like
this is,
pictures.
well, yeah, I mean, it is just a lighted printed.
I know, well, number one, I totally agree. I would love to see one in Clewiston and LaBelle.
Me too.
Number one, for outreach. Number two, for emergencies, right? A lot of
Yeah.
times we have emergency situations, we have hurricanes, and we have no outlet, to be able to disperse that information. That would be just a phenomenal way to do it. Finding a singular location in LaBelle, I believe we can.
I do too.
And I believe we can make that happen. I do know that I want to say it was about 8 years ago, we priced one for Clewiston Middle School, and then it was roughly $20,000. I'm sure they're higher now, and I would love to have, I agree with you, if you're going to do it, go ahead and get a nice one that's color, that you could put things, you could put the picture of the Teachers of the Year, it's really blow.
Safety patrols,
Yes,
all
right.
kinds of
And-
wonderful things going on.
Right.
And there's no time to.
My thought process was, because y'all had brought that up last time, right?
Yes.
My thought process was to sell the property, and then, because that would be capital money, that now have to be expensed back into capital, but yet then that could be used for capital to buy the said signs to do that with, and it wouldn't cost us anything out of our current budget to do that with. But again, this is a decision, I don't want to sway y'all one way or the other, I want y'all to understand that, but I just need to be able to know, is that a piece of property y'all would be interested in seeing proposals on, or not? And I can react in whatever way y'all see fit.
No, I'm not so moved.
I'm not wild about
Yeah.
bringing that into the front, that high density is,
It's been bad and fast.
And we have a lot of kids
I
who
mean,
walk to our schools,
that's all,
they're gonna go right through those
Clewiston
blocks.
has barely any non-fast food restaurants, and I'm not knocking it, because I would probably like the fast food. But it's the density of the traffic, the drive-through nature of it. Every time I look at that school, it gives me apprehension of, it's like knowing what I know now about school safety, and that how you don't really want your schools on those thoroughfares like 27, like it just already invites. But having a place like that with free Wi-Fi and transient, there's something about that doesn't set well with my soul.
I don't think you're gonna attract any wrong people more so than what you already attract now. At the gas stations, at the motel close by, at the McDonald's right on the other side of the canal. So I don't think you're gonna attract the wrong kind of people, like what your concern is there.
But
You
just
are
the-
definitely gonna have a high traffic flow.
And that's it, like ingress and egress. I've done the three of the Clewiston board members have done the drop off and pick up at Clewiston Middle School. And it's already tough just because of its location. And then that would be right there where our buses depart.
Yeah, but you think about, depending on what restaurant it is, are they open in the morning? So
Let's
that
just
might
say
not be
what
an issue in the morning. So then, and then what time do we get out? It's probably not at lunchtime and it's not at dinner time, so the traffic is probably not going to be extremely high at that point. As far as traffic in and out of it.
And on the
Really in
thoroughfare
reality,
between
so I don't know
Miami-
if we want to shoot it down without maybe, what would it hurt to at least get a proposal?
When I
If we
think
don't, that's
about
not-
on the thoroughfare between Miami, and then you've got just nothing, and then you not whole much to stop at in South Bay, then you get to Clewiston, and that's where people, you already see, this triggers me all the time, is
like truck drivers will pull over into the turn lane and they're sitting there like blocking traffic already. It just pushes me right off the deep end and jump out and run in and I feel bad for them. I know they got to eat. But then after that, there's a whole stretch between Clewiston going up 27 to you get to Highlands County before there's another place. And so that is going to, I think we have a lot of traffic just because of that, our centralized location and having those large stretches of highway on either side of our community.
I don't know, I just think it would be worth at least entertaining. I mean,
Would we find out for sure who the fast food chain is at that time? I mean, is that?
I've already heard who it is,
We
but
live
it,
here, we don't, I've had.
They've asked for.
Culver's? Is it Culver's?
They've asked for being anonymous, at this point in time until we got to a contractual standpoint.
See, that would be.
and that's scary too, like just
Right, just say it.
Who are you?
Just let us know who you are.
say who you are, like take off the mask, show me who you are.
That's what it's hard to say.
I mean,
That's what I heard.
hurt to entertain.
Well, the only thing would hurt, and I don't mind this, right, but it is work for staff. You know, it does take time, it does take some expenses, we have to advertise, which we don't mind doing. But if you're at a four no vote now, no matter what it is, or how much it is, or who it is, then I just say, please save my staff the time, it's the only thing that will hurt. So I don't know if y'all want, you could take a vote on at least putting, you know, to hear more
There's
on it.
property down 27, I mean, there's places for it.
Yeah, I mean, they come seeking us, we didn't go
I know.
seeking them, so, yeah.
So do we need a motion on this, or we just table it, or what do we do?
I would love to have a decision so that I can move forward or stop, if y'all don't mind.
I make a motion that we stop.
Yeah, I'm
Second.
down in it. Third.
Hey, I was just playing devil's advocate on it. I'm just
You
asking
were,
questions.
no, we weren't giving you any
And,
input.
you don't know, if someone didn't ask questions, right?
That's all I ask for, a clarity of your direction, I'm happy to carry it out.
Stop.
Stop me.
Is that 4-0, 4-1?
4-1, yes. Okay,
Yeah, I read the opposite of them.
the last piece that I would like to leave you with is kind of an FYI, but then just to give you a heads up. Do you want to talk about you want me to give the heads up about the other piece, or are you going to do it?
Well, I could certainly do it right now if you're done.
I'll let you do it then. It's off my plate.
At the last board meeting, I brought it up, that we had a piece of property that's, about 14 acres over in Port LaBelle, that a school board property was done when they did the development. The water board, Port Utilities system has asked us to, they want to look at it. They've asked if they could use part of it, if could they buy the whole thing, and so forth. So that's Roger Greer, he's the director, and then he talks to the other powers at the county. And so I think at the next school board meeting, not at our budget meeting, but our school board meeting in LaBelle, which is, I think, the 20th of August, they will be here to make a presentation that they're interested in buying the piece of property, or like us to give the property. They weren't specific as to exactly what the presentation would include, but you should know that the value of it was appraised 2 years ago at $375,000. So you can hold that information, and we need, the board would have to make a decision. Do we let them use the property, sell them the property, do we divide the property? There's options available as to what we would do, but the presentation will not be for almost a month from now. Is that works pretty
That's
well?
correct, and I think you covered the context of it. The whole thing is in order to keep up with utility needs of the Port LaBelle area, they need well field. This piece of property is ideally located to complement their needs. So they don't have to have the whole piece of property for the well fields. They really just need less than an acre really to put the wells on. But then they would need service, they gotta go in and work on them, so they gotta have right of ways. And then ultimately, the complete build out of Port LaBelle it does call for that piece of property having I believe a fire station on it.
That was one of the things was certainly brought up. A park was brought up, a fire station was brought up.
And possibly a combination of both. They said
Yeah.
the whole piece, they could put a fire station and a park and a well field, and that would service, that entire community there. And so we just wanted to make sure, I think right now, Mr. Timberlake, my intention is just to inform you, make sure you have that knowledge at this point in time. If you want to talk more about it with me individually, you can. If you want to go see it, you can. If you want to reach out to those folks in the county or Mr. Greer to talk and discuss on your own, you certainly have the right to do that as well. So we just wanted to make sure, I know that this board likes them to know information in advance, so you got time to think and look rather than, learning about it, being asked to vote on it. So that's really what the intent of what we're doing today is.
I'm not opposed to, definitely, like, seeing the presentation.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a whole different ballgame from when you're talking about you need wells to service, your areas and crucial infrastructure for, essential services, so that's,
Well, and the growth of Port LaBelle,
It's
they're gonna have to do it somewhere.
Yeah.
So they could they have other property that they could possibly use. But this is just in a good location, so they can use those feeder wells to go back into their water plant, which is a couple of 100 yards, or I forget exactly.
I'm open to.
So
hearing
we'll see
they
what they have to say. I think we could use it to our benefit also. I'm not saying that we should be giving it.
If it's a building in school, so I don't know
You
about
get more than.
Oh, that's right. Well,
We need
to
to pass some work.
Yes.
and I'll probably recluse myself from that vote because I'm chairman of the water board there.
I will as well. My husband is working with the county on it.
So there'll be three of you, you're gonna have to decide whatever happens.
Three of our schools use Port LaBelle water.
Yeah, right.
That's
So, I mean, that would be beneficial for us, and when they do have, they call us, they work very well with us.
I think they've been a great benefit to us. When we had a water line break, they brought in their equipment, dug it out, and, I mean, we have a great working relationship. So I'm not,
Great communication.
yeah. So
I think it'd definitely be worth a presentation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I agree.
So that covers what I have to do with the board. Moving along.
I do have one question. I noticed on the way in that we've got some of the mini splits on the ground and some on top, on the wall. Why, what's the difference? Is it just the type of units, or why did we mount them differently? No.
We it's just for visual looks for now. We try to put them on the ground and put them out of sight, out of mind to a minimal. I know they're not out of sight 100%.
Yes.
We will have a vestibule that'll be going in 1st of August there to make a 1-point entry in that area. So we'll have windows in the front there, but we tried to put them in. That was kind of our main entrance, so we just thought we could put them high.
By putting them down on the ground. Now, as far as maintenance, does it make a difference?
We do,
As
we
far
do,
as
yeah.
maintenance, you've got to climb ladders versus walking up and kneeling down, or? I'm just
It's
kind of
six of
curious.
one, half a dozen other, we just, they've been pretty hardy. We've used them maybe half a dozen times throughout the county right now. I think we're at 26 of them over at CBLC right now. Unfortunately, they don't are very hardy enough to hold up to a lightning strike. So we had that happen.
Already.
But we tried to keep them out of sight. We didn't want them in somebody's face when they were walking in front of us. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Okay, all right. I was just kind of curious because like I said, I noticed the height difference between the two, and I know when they're down on the ground, any kind of AC units down on the ground, you gotta clean them because when you mow, the mowers are gonna blow grass all over them, or if they're elevated, it won't be quite as bad. So I was just kind of curious on why we did it that way.
Yeah, overall, we're having a very good experience with reaching out and using the mini splits right now, which will probably a couple different options I have using the two different facilities after we've had this experience at CBLC. But we are still testing the market as a pretty well.
Well, I think the mini splits, I mean, everything I've heard about them, they're a good unit. You know, they do a good job. I was just kind of curious about servicing and access to mowers and things like that, damage.
We still have a bunch of residential units, across our counties. this office area here, under our roof on top, the workforce going almost as residential by the time to go to school. Just like anything else, we gotta keep the lawnmowers away from them, we gotta keep the grass away from them.
Right.
We have a very good custodian over there that will be able to keep an eye on those, and, that's one of the things that we gotta keep clean and
Yeah.
make sure it's one of those legacy things that we gotta do every day. We believe we want to do.
That was, yeah, okay. Like I said, I was just kind of curious about that, because I know if you, anything lower to the ground like that, you know, when I mow the grass, I cover my unit, and then I gotta wash it off. You know, unintentional sometimes, but you know, it happens, so I know if I, as a homeowner, do that, I'm just kind of thinking maintenance, you know, people are, because it's coming out of my pocket when my AC goes out, you know, not necessarily the maintenance
That's still
guy.
coming out of our pocket over there every day too.
You know, so I just kind of curious about that.
She was covered.
Thank you.
What brand are they, Mr. Beeson, do you know?
I'm like 90% sure I know, but I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. We have a couple residentials that we use, and
They've been great. I mean, we put 2 units per classroom, and you gotta wear your sweater in the classrooms right now. We put 2 and therefore we got seat just in case one goes down. We're not 100% out.
as long as they're installed.
Mother
right.
Nature,
Yeah.
Mother Nature has, pretty close to what she's in.
We have one that did really, really well. We have another one, Danny calls it like a disposable. We just know that every couple of years, he's gonna put a new one in.
Well, we are gonna see how long their longevity. We did a little bit of research on longevity, but we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. All right, you're done.
I'm done.
Do you have anything?
I don't know.
Reverend Brown, do you have anything?
Yes, I don't know if anybody can do anything, because I've watched the school over the years put out epic effort to change, but parental involvement. I took a project on this summer to provide math for our students that wants it, high school, middle school, elementary school, 3 certified teachers, which we had to pay. And on the date that it began, we had 10 people out of all 3 levels of school. So I really don't know. I mean, I know the schools are doing something. I just don't know what we've got to do. I've seen the kids moving slow at an early age. Time to reach high school, they're either going to drop out or stay in trouble or doing something. So I'm open to any suggestions that we can have to try to build parental support, because it's horrible. And the kids are suffering. Kids don't do what you would make them do. And but that's my plea for help. I know the school may have things that they may do, but out of our children, I mean, 10 out of the whole community.
This is a free service?
3 certified teachers, everything. 10. 2 high school, 2 middle school, and the rest was elementary school.
Do you think transportation is a factor?
No, I think interest in what your child has to do in school. That's, but how do you build that? How do you build that? And I understand the frustration teachers may have trying to teach and then going home and the kids doesn't do homework, and it's just, what upsets me is that it's provided for them. And, so, but in ideas, I'm open for suggestions. I'm grateful for the 10, but it should have been so much more. But we'll keep trying. Any suggestion at all would be a big help. Well, thank you.
Ms. Busey?
I would like the record to reflect that I don't have any board member business tonight, and I would like to bank my 10 minutes for the subsequent meeting.